gonna get started today. Hi. How you doing? We're all good. We're all here.
Come on, everyone. Say hello.
There he is. All right, we're gonna get started. My name is Mr. Bielen. I want to officially welcome everyone to Central's second annual Poetry Out Loud recitation contest. Thank you for being here. Last year, we were upstairs in room 300. We were a tightly packed little group of people, and the turnout was so great that this year, as you can see, we're in a much bigger space, and the interest was so great from you guys. We have double the amount of performers for you today, so it's very exciting. We thank you all for coming here. You're going to hear some amazing poetry. We all know that poems are something that we could read individually by ourselves, but hearing poems recited brings something else to the table that we might have missed if we read poems alone. You hear some nuances, you hear different rhythms that maybe we wouldn't have picked up on. And especially with our amazing group of performers you're going to get today, you're in for a treat. So on behalf of everyone in the English department, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank our judges. So let's meet our judges for today. We have Mr. Trino, who just came in. Let's clap it up for Miss Cote, let's hear Miss Cote. These are the three judges who will be judging the performance. And on the side here, we have our accuracy judges from the English department. We have Miss Ligori and Miss Chan. So this is how it's going to work today. Each classroom representative will come up in alphabetical order to recite his or her winning poem. 5 finalists will then be selected to go on to the final round where they will recite their second poem. At the end of today's contest, 2 performers will be selected to go represent Central at Nassau Community College for the regional competition. And last year, one of our representatives actually went on to the next stage up in Syracuse and was competing for the title of New York. So we expect some really great things today, and hopefully we'll see some of our performers at the state level this year. All right, so just a few things before we start. We ask at this time you turn off all your cell phones, please. We cannot have any distracting noises happening, whether it's phones or conversations, while these people are really trying to stay focused and memorize their poems. Also, if you have to leave or if you need to use the restroom, obviously we ask that you please wait until in between poems to do so. Don't just get up in the middle of someone's poem, wait till their poem is finished, and then you can walk out inconspicuously. And last, obviously, once you turn off your phone, please keep it away. We don't want any pictures or recording of the performances up here. It's distracting to the performers. We have ETV representatives who are documenting today's performance, so we don't need you taking pictures or videos. All right? You guys ready for some poetry? Many of you, even if it was something as like a small little classroom activity, you did something with Poetry Out Loud this year. Okay, we thank you for taking part in it. These people, like I said, dedicated their time to memorizing 2 poems. It takes a lot of focus to get up here and do it, so we know you're going to be a great audience. We ask for your respectful attention as they come up. So we're going to get our final setup ready. Judges are going to get out their first poems. I'll announce the poems that are going to come up in alphabetical order. All right, we're just checking that all our performers are here. A light? All right, which one is the front?
I think they're overhead. It's like the person's face is half light, half dark. Yeah. Maybe you should shut the smart part off. Yeah. This is 10
Turn that off.
Yeah.
Is it better now with the light on? Maybe it's better now with the light on though, or not? Well, they turned it off. right, guys, you ready? Yes! All right. As quiet as we want you while the performers are up here reciting, feel free when they're done to show your appreciation, and you can be loud and you can be thunderous applause. So for our very first entertainer, let's give it up for Lewis. Come on up, Lewis.
After the cocoon, I was a human body, instead of butterflies all on my back. There was a great pain. I grew up to my feet, where I felt wings behind me trying to tilt me back. They succeeded in doing so. After a day exertion, I call that time. Overwhelmed with the ghost of my wings, sleep. My thoughts remained those of a caterpillar. I took pleasure in climbing trees. I snuck food into all my pains, and my mouth produced language, which I attempted to spin over myself, and rip through happier and healthier. I do this every few minutes and think to myself, what made me such a failure? It's all a little touchingly pathetic to live like this, a grown creature telling ghost stories, staring at pictures, paralyzed for hours, and even in dinner or in bed. Still hearing the stories, seeing the pictures, and undertow sucking me back into myself. I'm told to set myself goals, but mine doesn't work that way. Instead, I have wishes. Wishes aren't afraid to take on their own color in life. Like a boy who grabs a razor from the high cabinet and puffs out his cheeks and strips them bloody.
All right, that was Luis Carrasco. Up next, let's have a round of applause for Luis Castaneda. Luis. Okay, we're going to get back to Luis. So instead, let's hear a wonderful round of applause for Hannah Charles. And remember, let's please get your attention and let the entertainer come out and focus.
The Destruction of Sennacherib by Lord Byron, George Gordon. The Assyrian came down like the wolf on the fold, and his cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold. And the sheen of their spears was like stars on the sea, when the blue wave rolls nightly on deep Galilee. Like the leaves of the forest when summer is green, that toast with their banners at sunset were seen.
Maria Bouzet,
Like the
if you're in the
leaves of the
building, please go
forest
down to the chorus room.
when autumn
Maria
hath
Bouzet, if you're in the
blown,
building, please go down to the
that
chorus room.
toast on the morrow lay withered and strown. For the angel of death spread his wings on the blast and breathed in the face of the foe as he passed. And the eyes of the sleepers waxed deadly and chill, and their hearts but once heaved and forever grew still. And there lay the steed with his nostrils all wide, but through it there rolled not the breath of his pride, and the foam of his gasping lay white on the turf, and cold as the spray of the rock-beating surf. And there lay the rider, distorted and pale, with the dew on his brow and the rust on his mail. And the tents were all silent, the banners alone, the lances unlifted, the trumpets unblown. And the widows of Asher are loud in their wail, and the idols are broke in the temple of Baal, and the might of the Gentile unsmote by the sword, hath melted like snow in the glance of the Lord.
Okay, guys, up next we have Colin Chevry.
Let it be forgotten as a flower is forgotten. Forgotten as a fire that was once in gold. Let it be forgotten forever and ever. Time is our friend. He will make us old. If anyone asks, say it was forgotten long, long ago. As a fire, as a flower, as a hushed footfall in the long forgotten snow.
Thank you, Colin. Up next, let's hear it for Anthony Cruz.
Spanglish by Tato Labier. Pues estoy creando Spanglish. Bicultural systems, scientific lexicographical, intertextual integrations. 2. Expressions existentially wired. 2 dominant languages continentally abrazándose en coloquio combate. En las aceras del suyo imperio Spanglish emerges control pandillaje sobre territorio baileño. Las novelas mexicanas, mixing with radio rock and roll, condimented cocina lore, immigrant, migrant, nasal mispronouncements, baraja chismeteo social club, hip hop prieto street salsa, corner soul inmexturado, Spanish pop farandula. Standard English classroom with computer technicalities. Spanglish is literally perfect. Spanglish is ethnically snobbish. Spanglish is cara holy inteligencia. Which US slang do you speak?
All right, folks, we're going to go back to Luis Castaneda.
Okay, this is Sugar Data by, I don't know the person. Okay, go home. It's never what you think it is. The kiss, the diamond, the slam dance pulse in the wrist. Nothing is true, my dear, not even this. Meaning, rumor of passion you'll doubtless insist on perceiving in my glands. Please just go home is never what you think it is. Meaning lies and means absence. The mist is always almost just about to lift. Nothing is true, my dear, not even this. Okay, I forgot the rest. Can I go down?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Give it up for Luis. next, let's have a round of applause for Regina De La Paz.
Poor Love by Robert Huey. Poor Bobby. Yesterday I wanted to speak of it. That sense above the others to me important because all that I know derives from what it teaches me. Today, what is it that is finally so helpless, different, despairs of its own statement, wants to turn away, endlessly to turn away? If the moon did not, no, if you did not, I wouldn't either. But what would I not do? What prevention, what thing so quickly stop? That is love. Yesterday or tomorrow, not now. Can I eat what you give me? I have not earned it. Must I think of everything as earned? Now love also becomes a reward so remote from me, I have only made it with my mind. Here is tedium, despair, a painful sense of isolation, and whimsical, if pompous, self-regard. But that image is only of the mind's vague structure, vague to me because it is my own. Love, what do I think to say? I cannot say it. What have you become to ask? What have I made you into? Companion, good company, crossed legs with the skirt, or soft body under the bones of the bed? Nothing says anything, but that which it wishes would come true, fears what else might happen in some other place, some other time, not this one. A voice in my place, an echo of that only in yours. Let me stumble into not the confession, but the obsession I begin with now. For you also some time beyond place, or place beyond time. No mind left to say anything at all. That face gone now. Into the company of love, it all returns.
Okay, guys, up next, we have Juanilla Deslandes.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged of punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
All right, guys, let's hear it for Kylie Finn.
Okay, the name of my poem is Mothering Blackness by Maya Angelou. She came home running, back to the mothering blackness deep, in the smothering blackness white tears, icicle gold plains of her face. She came home running, she came down creeping, here to the black arms waiting, now to the warm heart waiting, rhymes of alien dreams befrost her rich brown face. She came down creeping, she came home blameless, black yet as Haggard's daughter, tall as was Sheba's daughter, threats of northern winds die on the desert's face. She came home blameless.
All right, up next we have Anieli Garcia Loveres.
I'll be reciting El Olvido by Judith Ortiz Coffer. It is a dangerous thing to forget the climate of your birthplace, to choke out the voices of your dead relatives when in dreams they call you by your secret name. It is dangerous to spurn the clothes you were born to wear for the sake of fashion. Dangerous to use weapons and sharp instruments you are not familiar with. Dangerous to disdain the plaster saints before which your mother kneels, praying with embarrassing fervor that you survive the place that you have chosen to live. A bare, cold room with no pictures on the walls. A forgetting place where she fears that you will die of loneliness and exposure. Jesús, María, y José, she says, el olvido is a dangerous thing.
Okay, guys, let's hear a round of applause for Christelle Jean-Baptiste.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down its narrow cage can seldom see through its bars of rage. Its wings are clipped and its feet are tied, so it opens its throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longs for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds saw through the sighing breeze, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare screams. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longs for still, and his tune is heard on a distant hill. The caged bird sings of freedom.
All right, guys, let's give it up for Meducci LaVenture.
Football by Louis Jenkins. I take the snap from the center, fake to the right, fade back. I've got protection. I've got a receiver open downfield. What the hell is this? This isn't a football. It's a shoe. A man's brown leather Oxford. A cousin to the football, maybe. The same skin, but not the same. A thing made for the earth, not the air. I realize that this is a world where anything's possible, and I understand. Also, that one often has to make do with what one has. I've eaten pancakes, for instance, with that clear corn syrup on them, because there was no maple syrup and they weren't very good. Well, anyway, this is different. My man down the field waving his arms. One has certain responsibilities. One has to make choices. This isn't right, and I'm not going to throw it.
All right, guys, let's keep it going for Alicia McCord.
History lesson by Natasha Trethewey. I'm forming this photograph, standing on a wide strip of Mississippi beach, my hands on the flowered hips of a bright bikini. My toes dig in, curl around wet sand. The sun cuts the rippling gulf and flashes with each tidal rush. Minnows dart at my feet, glinting like switchblades. I am alone, except for my grandmother other side of the camera telling me how to pose. It is 1970, 2 years after they opened the rest of this beach to us. 40 years since the photograph where she stood, standing on a narrow plot of sand marked colored, smiling her hands on the flowered hips of a cotton mill sack dress.
All right, guys, up next, let's give it up up for Natalia Nunez.
Bent to the Earth by Blas Manuel de Luna. They hit Ruben with the high beams. They blinded him so that the van he was driving full of Mexicans would have to stop. Ruben spun the van into an irrigation ditch, spun the 5-year-old me awake to immigration officers, their batons already out, already looking for soft spots on the body. To my mother being handcuffed and dragged into a van, to my father trying to show them our green cards. They let us go. But Alvaro was going back. So was his brother Fernando. So was their sister Sonia. Their mother did not escape, and so was going back. Their father was somewhere in a field and was free. There were no great truths revealed to me then, no wisdom given to me by anyone. I was a child who had seen what a polished piece of wood could do to a face, who had just seen his father about to lose the one he loved, who had some friends who would never return, who later that morning bent to the earth and went to work.
All right, up next we have Shante Notman.
Ways of Talking by Hajin. We used to like talking about grief, or journals and letters were packed with losses, complaints, and sorrows. Even if there was no grief, we wouldn't stop lamenting as though longing for a distressed face. Then we couldn't help expressing grief. So many things descended without warning. Labor wasted, loves lost, houses gone, marriages broken, friends estranged, ambitions worn away by immediate needs. Words lined up in our throats for a good whining. Grief seemed like an endless river, the only immortal flow of life. After losing a land and then giving up a tongue, we stopped talking about grief. We stopped talking of grief. Smiles began to brighten our faces. We laugh a lot at our own mess. Things become beautiful. Even hailstorms in strawberry fields.
All right, let's hear it next for Victoria Umerjit.
Blind Curse by Simon J. Ortiz. You could drive blind for those 2 seconds, and they would be forever. I think that as a diesel truck passes us 8 miles east of Mission, churning through the storm, heedless of the hill sliding away, there isn't much use to curse, but I do. Words fly away, tumbling invisibly towards the unseen point where the prairie and the sky meet. The road is like that in those seconds. Nothing but the blind white side of creation. You're there somewhere. A tiny struggling cell. You just might be significant, but you might not be anything. Forever is a space of split time from which to recover after the mass passes. My curse flies out there somewhere, and then I send my prayer into the wake of the diesel truck headed for Sioux Falls, 180 miles through the storm. Thank you.
Our next performer is Charlize Quesada.
I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by Emily Dickinson.
I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they were all seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I, and silence, some strange race wrecked solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing then.
All right, up next we have Jania Robinson.
Bleeding Heart by Carmen Jimenez Smith. My heart is bleeding. It bleeds upwards and fills my mouth with salt. It bleeds because of a city in ruins, the chair still warm from sister's body, because it will all be irreproducible. It bleeds because of baby bear not finding mama bear, and it bleeds to the tips of my fingers like I painted my nails crimson. Sometimes my heart bleeds so much. I am a raisin. It bleeds till I'm a quivering, ragged clot, bleeds at the ending with the heroine at her second kiss, her eyes at the ending with the plaintive flute over smoke-choked killing fields. I'm bleeding a river of blood right now, and it's wearing a culvert in me for the blood. My heart rises up in me, becomes a cork of me, and I choke on it. I'm bleeding for you, for me, and for the tiny babies and the IED blown lead. It bleeds because I am made that way. All filled with blood, my sloppy heart a sponge filled with blood to squeeze onto any circumstance. I've got so much blood to give to inside and outside any milieu. Even for a bad zoning decision, I'll bleed so much, you'll be bleeding, all of us bleeding, in and out like it's breathing or kissing, because it's righteous and terrible and red. Thank you.
Okay, guys, next I give you Sophia Savage.
The Lamb by Linda Gregg. It was the picture I had after the war. A bombed English church. I was too young to know the word English or war. But I knew the picture. The ruined city still seemed noble. The cathedral with its roof blown off was not less godly. The church was the same, plus rain and sky. Birds flew in and out of the holes God's fist made in the walls. All our desire for love or children is treated like rags by the enemy. I knew so much and sang anyway, like a bird who will sing until it's brought down. When they take away the trees, the child picks up a stick and says, "This is a tree, this the house and the family, as we might." Through the door of what had been a house to a field of rubble walks a single lamb, tilting its head, curious, unafraid, hungry. Thank you.
Okay, next let's hear it for Kata Thomas.
Let the light
Light Enter by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. The Dying Words of Goethe. Light. More light. The shadows deepen and my life is ebbing low. Throw the windows widely open. Light. More light before I go. Softly let the balmy sunshine play around my dying bed. Ere the dimly lighted valley I with lonely feet must tread. Light. More light, for death is weaving shadows round my waning sight, and I fain would gaze upon him through a stream of earthly light. Not for greater gifts of genius, not for thoughts more grandly bright. All the dying poet whispers is a prayer for light. More light. Heeds he not the gathered laurels, fading slowly from his sight. All the poet's aspirations center in that prayer for light. Gracious Savior, when life's daydreams melt and vanish from the sight, may our dim and longing vision then be blessed with light. More light.
Up next, we have Valentina Urena.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on a grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream, his wings are clipped, and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
Okay, up next, let's hear it for Faiza Ure.
My poem is Meeting Point by Louise Macbeth. Time was away and somewhere else. There were 2 glasses and 2 chairs and 2 people with the one pulse. Somebody stopped the moving stairs. Time was away and somewhere else. And they were neither up nor down. The stream's music did not stop, flowing through heather, limpid brown. Although they sat in a coffee shop, and they were neither up nor down. Holding its inverted poise between the clang and clang of flour, a brazen calyx of no noise. The bell was silent in the air. The camels crossed the miles of sand that stretched around the cups and plates. The desert was their own. They planned to portion out the stars and dates. The camels crossed the miles of sand. Time was away, and somewhere else. The waiter did not come. The clock forgot them, and the radio waltz came out like water from a rock. Time was away, and somewhere else. Her fingers flicked away the ash that bloomed again in tropic trees, not caring if the markets crashed when they had forests such as these. Her fingers flicked away the ash. God, or whatever means the good, He prays that time can stop like this, that what the heart has understood can verify in the body's peace, God, or whatever means the good. Time was away, and she was here, and life no longer what it was. The bell was silent in the air, and all the room one glow, because time was away, and she was here.
Okay, our next reciter is Deirdre Valentine.
The poem I'll be reciting is On the Death of Annie Bronte by Charlotte Bronte. There's little joy in life for me, and little terror in the grave. I've lived the parting hour to see of one I would have died to save. Calmly to watch the failing breath, wishing each sigh might be the last. Longing to see the shade of death over those beloved features cast. The cloud, the stillness that must part the darling of my life from me. And then to thank God from my heart, to thank him well and fervently, although I know we had lost the hope and glory of our life. And now, benighted, tempest tossed, must bear alone the weary strife.
All right, guys, we're down to our final 5 performers. Up next, we have Angie Vega.
There are birds here by Jamal May for Detroit. There are birds here. So many birds here is what I was trying to say. When they said those birds were metaphors for what is trapped between buildings and buildings. No. The birds are here to root around for bread. The girl's hands tear and toss like confetti. And no, I don't mean the bread is torn like cotton, I said confetti. And no, not the confetti a tank can make of a building. I mean the confetti a boy can't stop smiling about. And no, his smile isn't much like a skeleton at all. And no, his neighborhood is not like a war zone. I'm trying to say his neighborhood is as tattered and feathered as anything else. But they won't stop saying. Can I get the next line?
As anything else, as shut up.
As anything else. But they won't stop saying how lovely the ruins, how ruined the lovely children must be in that birdless city.
All right, guys, let's hear it for Christina Wyndham.
Quite frankly, by Mark Halliday. They got old. They got old and died. But first they composed poignant depictions of how much they lost and how much cared about losing. Meantime, their hair got thin and more thin as their shoulders went slumpy. Okay, but not before the photo albums got arranged by them. Arranged with a niftiness, not just 2 or 3, but 18 photo albums. Yes, 18 eventually. 18 albums proving the beauty of them and not someone else. Them and their relations and friends, incontrovertible. Playing croquet in that Bloomington yard, floating on those comic inflatables at Dell Lake, giggling at the Dairy Queen, waltzing at the wedding, building a Lego palace on the porch, holding the baby beside the rental truck, leaning on the Hemingway statue at Pamplona, discussing the eternity of art in that Sardinian restaurant.
Yes, and so quite frankly, at the end of the day, they got old and died. Okay, sure. But quite frankly, how much does that matter? In view of the 18 photo albums, big ones, 13 inches by 12 inches, each full of such undeniable beauty.
Up next, we have Alexa Wallowich.
The Day by Jeffrey Brock. It hangs on its stem like a plum at the edge of a darkening thicket. It's swelling and blushing and ripe, and I reach out a hand to pick it. But flesh moves slow through time, and evening comes on fast. And just when I think my fingers might seize that sweetness at last, the gentlest of breezes rises, and the plum lets go of the stem. And now it is in my fingers ripening, an evening that's reaching for them. Thank you.
All right, everyone, let's hear it for our next performer, Lauren Wright.
The Song of the Feet by Nikki Giovanni. It is appropriate that I sing the song of the feet. The weight of the body and what the body chooses to bear fall on me. I trampled the American wilderness, forged frontier trails, outran the mob in Tulsa, got caught in Philadelphia, and am still unreparated. I soldiered on in Korea, jungled through Vietnam, sweated out Desert Storm, caved my way through Afghanistan, tunneled the World Trade Center, and on the worst day of my life, walked behind JFK, shouldered MLK, stood embracing Sister Betty. I wiggle my toes in the sands of time, trusting the touch that controls my motion, basking in the warmth of the embrace day's end offers with warm, salty water. It is appropriate I sing the praise of the feet. I am a black woman.
Okay, and our final performer before we go to the second round, let's hear it for Khadija Zahid.
The Paradox by Paul Laurence Dunbar. I am the mother of sorrows. I am the ender of grief. I am the bud and the blossom. I am the late autumn leaf. I am thy priest and thy poet. I am thy serf and thy king. I cure the tears of the heartsick. When I come near, they shall sing. White are my hands as the snowdrop. Swart are my fingers as clay. Dark is my frown as the midnight, fair is my brow as the day. Battle and war are my minions, doing my will as divine. I am the calmer of passions. Peace is a nursling of mine. Speak to me gently or curse me, seek me or fly from my sight. I am thy fool in the morning, thou art my slave in the night. Down to the grave will I take thee out from the noise of the strife. Then shalt thou see me and know me. Death then no longer, but life. Then shalt thou sing at my coming, kiss me with passionate breath. Clasp me and smile to have thought me ought save the foeman of death. Come to me, brother, when weary. Come when thy lonely heart swells, I'll guide thy footsteps and lead thee down where the dream woman dwells.
Before we announce these names, obviously everyone here, all the teachers in the English department, we're all proud of everyone who participated. You did an amazing job. You did such an amazing job that you actually forced them to pick 6 finalists instead of the 5. So without further ado, I'm going to just read the list of the 6 performers, give them a chance to get prepared. They could go over to the side over here and just get themselves situated. This will be the order that the second round will go. Our first performer, Khadija Zahid. Next, Deidre Valentine. Christina Wyndham. Faiza Ure. Sophia Savage. And Anthony Cruz. All right, finalists, if you want to come and bring yourself to the side over here and get ready, we'll get the judges a second to get ready.
The Obligation to Be Happy by Linda Pasting. It is more onerous than the rights of beauty or housework. Harder than love. But you expect it of me casually. The way you expect the sun to come up, not in spite of the rain or clouds, but because of them. And so I smile. As if my own fidelity to sadness were a hidden vice. That downward tug on my mouth, my old suspicion that health and love are brief irrelevancies. No more than laughter in the warm dark strangled at dawn. Happiness. I try to hoist it on my narrow shoulders again, a knapsack heavy with gold coins. I stumble around the house, bump into things only Midas himself would understand.
All right, give it up one more time for Faiza Ure.
All night, the sound had come back again. And again falls this quiet, persistent rain. What am I to myself that must be remembered, insisted upon so often? Is it that never the ease, even the hardness of rain falling will have for me something other than this, something not so insistent? Am I to be locked in this final uneasiness? Love. If you love me, lie next to me, be for me like rain. The getting out of the tiredness, the fatuousness, the semi-lust of intentional indifference, be wet with a decent happiness.
All right, let's hear it for Sophia Savage.
Worth by Marilyn Nelson for Ruben Ahia. Today in America, people were bought and sold. 500 for a likely Negro wench. If someone at auction is worth her weight in gold, how much would she be worth? By pound? By ounce? If I own an unimaginable quantity of wealth, could I buy an iota of myself? How out which part belonged to me. If I own part, could I set my part free? It must be worth something. Maybe a lot. That my great-grandfather, they say, killed a lion. They say he was black, with muscles as hard as iron. That he wore a necklace of the claws of the lion he fought. How much do I hear for His Majesty in my blood? I auction myself, and I make the highest bid. Thank you.
Up next, we have Anthony Cruz.
Self-Portrait by Robert Creeley. He wants to be a brutal old man, an aggressive old man, as dull, as brutal as the emptiness around him. He doesn't want compromise, nor to be ever nice to anyone. Just mean in his final, his total, his brutal rejection of it all. He tried the sweet, the gentle, the oh, let's hold hands together. And it was awful. Just dull, brutally inconsequential. Now he stands on his dwindling legs, his arms, his skin shrinks daily. And he loves, but hates equally.
Okay, and our last finalist, we have Deirdre Valentine.
Oh, no, she wants to go. Resurrection.
The poem I'll be reciting is April Love by Ernest Downs' son. We have walked in love's land a little way. We have learned his lesson a little while. And shall we not part at the end of day with a sigh, a smile? A little while in the shine of the sun, we were twined together, joined lips, forgot. No, I can't do it.
Okay.
Okay. How the shadows fall when the day is done and when love is not. We have said no word. We have said no word. We wish. We need wish unspoke. We have wrought no ill. I can't do it.
It's okay. We're just going to give our judges a few more minutes to deliberate, and we will give you our 2 building winners.
You don't have to just have it. We really appreciate you all staying as well. I really want to give a big thank you to our judges, the accuracy judges. It is almost impossible. It's so hard to follow your poems word by word and really try to make sure that everyone is hitting everything that they need to. So let's give them a big round of applause. And then we were all saying we're not doing that. And then to our 2 guest judges, we were laughing, saying this is such a difficult decision. I know that all judges say that, but it really is true in this case. And we really want to thank Mr. Torino and Ms. Baptista. Phenomenal job. Memorizing 1 poem is not easy. Memorizing 2 poems is extremely difficult. And as judges, we were talking about how impressed we were
that people chose very different poems as well. So, so many of the finalists, their first poem was nothing like their second poem. And that shows a real range and versatility, and that's something that we even talked about moving forward and moving on to the regional and state and national competition. That's something that judges look for as well. It's really difficult to announce our winner and runner-up because all 5 of you honestly did such a phenomenal job, and we were saying how difficult it was and how, it's sort of like you don't want to do this. You wish you could say everybody could. So
Let's
we
call
have
all 5 of you up first.
Yeah, all 5 of you guys come on up. We don't want to take a picture too.
Oh, yeah, it is like a PLA.
Oh, 6. Deirdre, come on. Come on, Deirdre. Okay, so we are very, very, very happy. Should I announce our winner or runner-up first? Let's go to runner-up first. Very, very happy to announce our runner-up, Khadija Zahid. And very excited to see our winner, Faiza. Move on to
You guys all did a great job. All did a great job.
Hold up. To the back.